today I'm going to be showing you a bare bones way for working with the planetary archangels and the Solomonic seals. We're going to do it in a very simple way. We basically will be using a single glass encased candle, the seal that you wish to use, herbs of planetary correspondence, maybe a condition oil or a planetary oil, some water and some salt. You'll combine that with some Solomonic conjurations, very straightforward, and then the candle will be lit and it will be worked more or less like your standard hoodoo style vigil light. What I suggest is that the 7-day glass encased candle that you use is that of the color associated with the planetary sphere which the angel rules. In this example, I will be doing an uncrossing candle or a hex breaking candle, say, using the Archangel Sachiel and the sphere of Jupiter. And so for that we've got a blue candle. But if you were doing a more solar style working, you could do a yellow candle, or a more Venusian working, you would use a green candle. Then in addition to this, you want to affix to the candle either an image of the planetary archangel, or failing that, you want to write the sigil and the name of the planetary archangel on the candle. I have a set of archangel images that I created for my own work, and I will link them down below, including all the prayers and conjurations and everything that I'll be using in this example, and you can print them out, cut them to size, and then affix them to your candle using some craft glue, anything like that. In terms of the condition oil, you can use a planetary oil that is well made. That's one option, or you could opt for a hoodoo condition oil. In this case, I'm using some King Solomon oil, which is traditionally associated with Solomonic materials. But whatever the case may be, you will also be anointing the candle with that. Now, there is one final aspect to this work which we should be considering, which is the timing. And what I suggest is to do it on the day ruled by that angel, right? So in the case of Sachiel and Jupiter, we do it on a Thursday, or if we're working with Anal, we would do it on a Friday because Venus falls to Friday, and with Michael we might do it on a Sunday. If you want to be more fastidious, if you want to really pay more attention to the astrological stuff, then you could do that in the astrological hour associated with the angel. And then if you want to be even more traditional, you want to do that either during the waxing moon, if you're drawing something to you, if you want to do a spell to attract something, or during the waning moon when you want to remove something from you, or you're doing a more destructive kind of work. Now, I honestly don't think getting too neurotic about the timing is that important for this. I'm all for making it easier. I'm all for finding ways to make the work accessible. When you have all your materials ready, you've got your candle, you've affixed your label to the candle, you've got the condition oil that you'd like to use, you've got the herb of planetary correspondence, you've got your water, and I suggest also a little bit of salt. When you've got all of this ready and you feel like you're ready to do the work, then it's a simple matter of starting by adding a pinch of salt to the water, saying the exorcism of the salt in the water, or doing the traditional Solomonic exorcism of the holy water. I'll link that down below. We then take a few drops of that, we sprinkle it on the candle wax, we say the exorcism of the wax. That's another important exorcism that you do, that is to purify the candle itself. I'll link that down below. I'll put it all in one document. And then once that sort of blank slate is ready, we can now begin to focus on the more formal aspects of the work. In order to do that, you would take your Solomonic seal, you would dress it with your condition oil, and I like to do that in a quincunx, which means the 4 corners and a dot in the center. And I do that once I've written my petition out in full on the back of the seal. Once that's ready, you could place that underneath the candle, and then you might proceed to dress the candle with some oil and some herbs, And then what I like to do when I anoint the candle with the oil is if I'm drawing something towards me, if I'm bringing something in, let's say bringing doing some money magic or some lamp magic, I will anoint the candle clockwise. And if I'm doing some work to send an influence away, some uncrossing work, I would anoint it counterclockwise. And in this case, my intention for this candle is as an uncrossing candle, as say a hex breaking candle, to clear up some sort of cross conditions, or maybe a client has been cursed. And this is maybe the approach that I would take. I would add some agrimony, I would add some King Solomon oil, or maybe some hyssop oil. I would anoint it counterclockwise with the client's petition underneath the candle. And then once the candle has been prepared and we are now satisfied that the basic requirements of the herbal correspondence, the oil and the candle has been exorcised adequately, we are now able to invoke the angel, right? And that takes a very straightforward format. What I like to do is I like to light the candle and then invoke the archangel in the divine name that rules that planetary sphere. So in the case of the archangel Sachiel, I will invoke the divine name El. So now I'm going to read to you what one of these conjurations might sound like. O mighty archangel Sachiel, with this flame, in the name of your God El, I do invoke thee. I honor the holy name El, which is the mercy and goodness of his divine majesty, which Abraham having invoked, he was found worthy to come forth from the Ur of the Chaldeans. Ye angel of God, hear me, for I invoke ye in my spell, so that through you it may find virtue and accomplishment. In the holy and wondrous name of El, I request that, then you insert your petition, let's say, that such and such be uncrossed, that they be cleansed of all black magic, all negative influences, and so forth. And then you say Amen, and the candle has been lit. Very straightforward. Now, you will notice that sort of halfway through that invocation, there was a bit of Historiola. That means, and I will read it again, in the honor of the holy name El, which is the mercy and goodness of his divine majesty, which Abraham having invoked, he was found worthy to come forth from the Ur of the Chaldeans. So that is a bit of a biblical mythology, a bit of biblical narrative that we insert into the invocation, that kind of creates the magical paradigm or the intentional paradigm connected with the divine name that rules that sphere. This is a very standard Solomonic technique, and it in fact is, you can see this in Greco-Egyptian magic, you can also see this in ancient Mesopotamian magic, where Historiola, or the invocation of myth or biblical precedent, is used in the invocation, and it's kind of to remind the divine forces how they are supposed to act in the context of this work. It's a very powerful way of directing that divine force. Because we're working with angelic being here, it's good to use biblical symbolism and biblical narratives, and that just adds to the strength and the power of the work. Now, each one of the divine names will have Historiola that is best suited to that divine name, and I've included that in the invocation, which I've linked down below. This is a very straightforward way of kind of, and a very traditional way of directing that influence and kind of programming the angel, or instructing the angel how you want it to act based on biblical precedent, right? This has happened before. This is what's happened in the Old Testament. Therefore, this is what should happen now again. That's the logic behind it. Now you've fixed your candle, you've invoked the archangel, and it is lit. Now what do? You leave the candle to burn down, right? And this will take anywhere from 5 to 7 days based on the quality of the wax. And what I suggest is that once a day, You come back to the candle, you can add another drop of oil, you can add a small pinch of more herbal material, and then you repeat the invocation as well as your petition, right? You do that day by day until the candle has burnt down. And then when the candle has burnt down, you are free to read the wax, look at the remains and see what signs there are. That's an art all to itself, but it's certainly a traditional way of doing it. And often we get very useful insights into how the work proceeded if we do that. So in the case of this work, if it was an uncrossing spell or hex breaking spell, we could look at the wax. If the glass was very hazy, or if it had gone black, or if there was strange symbols in the wax remains that were kind of menacing, then we might know, okay, well, more work is needed, or the petition wasn't formulated quite the way it should be, and we need to look at it. Or alternatively, if the candle burned clearly, the wax remains show some sort of positive symbolism, then we know things went well and everything is fine and the work is likely to be a success. Now, one last thing that I like to add is to say that candles are dangerous in the sense that they are fire, right? And they do catch alight. The wax sometimes heats up so much that the whole surface will catch on fire. And of course, if it's standing near something like a curtain or a window or anything like that, where something can blow over it, you could start a fire, and this is a genuine risk, right? So please be super careful with lighting encased candles. When in doubt, and if you're leaving your home and you're leaving the candle unattended, just extinguish the candle, just pinch it out, and then when you come back and you relight it, you can just say the invocation again and relight it. It's fine, it's not a big deal, right? Of course, the idea behind a vigil is that you've got that pressure on the work. It's something that's kind of sustained, right? This is why these candles are so popular in African American hoodoo, because they give a sustained pressure, right? And then of course, you're free to sort of create a daisy chain of vigils. As soon as one finishes, you start a new one. And you keep going until whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish is done, right? Now, there's one last thing that we need to address, and that is the petition and the Solomonic seal that we have at the bottom of this candle. You can take this, you can fold it up, you can put it in your wallet, or alternatively, you could fold it up and you add it to another work, maybe a mojo bag, maybe some sort of a jar spell, anything like that. But don't neglect the use of this because it has some talismanic value too. Granted that it's not going to be nearly as potent as the full technique that I share in the other video. Whatever the case may be, I hope you find that helpful. I hope that you would check out the PDF that I've linked down below. As I mentioned, I've got these labels, the Vigil label in high resolution, set up for print. You just have to find the one that's suited to the candle that you want, print it out, and then stick it on the candle. And of course, that PDF also includes the exorcism for the holy water, includes the exorcism for the wax, the invocations that I've mentioned here that we worked with today, and it's very structured. You just print it out and use it. So I hope that was helpful, and until next time, goodbye.